This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
Flat Earth means God is real, you have value, and he loves you. I think that God is real, you have value, and he loves you regardless. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Heliocentric model means you evolved from a rock and have no value and a non-important part of the never-ending vacuum of space. It's flat. I actually kind of agree with that. I don't agree that it all hinges on that, but I think that a lot of the Newtonian world was an attempt to remove the soul and to remove man's place in the universe. 100%. I agree with that. But I don't think that if the world is a sphere, God isn't real and he doesn't love you. I don't think that that's... but I know what you're saying. I really do. It's like there really was a movement to take away... That's why I find Flat Earth... That's one of the reasons I find Flat Earth interesting. And it's because it's so obvious that there was a rhetorical wizard movement for hundreds of years to remove God and to remove the soul from man. And the way to do that is to say that we are spinning around the sun, everything's empty, nothing. I get that. I see the reason. A lot more than the physics is the rhetoric is what makes me interested by it. Because I see all the motivations for doing it. And I know the people who did it were such fucking scumbags. Newton was like an alchemist weirdo, you know, and he was wrong about a lot. You know, like when you think about the empty space, right? See, here's something to think about. So when you say, okay, between us and the sun, what is it? People are like, it's empty space. So it's like, what does that mean? It's nothing. So that means we're touching the sun. There can't be nothing. Nothing cannot be. That's a paradox. That's frowned upon in science. So between us and an object, if there is nothing, then that means we're touching the object. Space cannot be just empty. That if there's a medium, and then the whole concept of light. So this is the thing, when you think about these things and people call you an idiot, it's like, explain light. How does light travel? And they go, well, a photon or waves, you know, the light wave. And the frequency of a light wave is, you know, it's whether or not it's infrared or, you know, X-rays or gamma rays and all that stuff. So frequency requires a medium. But in space, there is no medium because there's nothing. So then they go, oh, it's photons. It's a particle. So you're like, oh, so a particle travels directly from the sun to my eye, like to my eye personally. So it's a straight shot. So then how is there a field? How is there, you know, it's like, so it becomes a photon and then goes back to a wave. So how does a photon have frequency? And they can't answer, like most people can't answer any of these questions. So the fact that they're so hardcore about the model of space and the earth and the sun and all this stuff in their mind, I'm like, how does light travel through a vacuum? Light does not have mass, exactly. If light doesn't have mass, how can it be a photon, a particle? Because since space is empty and a wave requires a medium, right? So a wave in the ocean requires a medium. The water is the medium, right? The water doesn't move with a wave. That'll blow your mind, right? It's the medium, just like with air, with sound, etc. So if space is completely empty, and we're looking at the light from stars, so there was no medium to transfer. So that means it was photons, which means it has mass, which also means that, you know, millions and millions of light years away, those photons came right to my eyeball. Like if something has mass and it's a particle, it means that it's like a fucking direct shot. Because if a photon misses my eye, I don't see it, I don't register the light. That makes no sense. Something can't be a wave and a particle. So, so it's like, okay, so how much light can I hold in my hand? People will be like, that's absurd, Big Bear. You can't hold light in your hand. It's a wave, it's energy. It's like, well, you said it was a photon. A photon is a particle which must have mass, and if it stops moving, you must be able to hold it. Uh-oh. You see how it falls apart? That's why I think about stuff like flat Earth, because the actual story is flawed. And this is what surprises me. What surprises me and what interests me is not that there's a chance there's some high-level physicist, even though I know plenty that have a very hard time explaining this, high-level physicists that could write to me and be like, what you aren't seeing is this, because sometimes they do. Sometimes I understand vacuum gradients better and stuff like that. Someone just said I can explain. You're not even letting me finish. How many people can't explain it and have just accepted it? And then say, if you think that this is a dome and flat Earth, you're retarded. And just go, well, explain light. Explain gravity. Explain how light goes through a vacuum. And not only can't they explain it, they've never thought about it. And that's when you know it's wizardry. And I'm sure there's someone who can explain. The concept of a photon is relatively recent, by the way. Light, okay, can someone please, whoever said they could explain the photon thing, real question is you should be asking, is why the speed of light is limited to just 300,000 miles per second? Well, it's kilometers per second, 300,000 kilometers per second, 186,000 miles. They say it's a constant. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. So a particle and a wave is a constant. Okay. That doesn't mean anything. And we all know that. It doesn't make sense. Can someone photons? Yeah. Can't even drill further than 10 miles in the earth. Let's ask Neil deGrasse Tyson. I know, alleged rapist by 3 women. No one can explain. Every physicist knows that. It's not intuitive. Right. No, and guys, I've done podcasts with like Nobel Prize winning physicists. I've hung out with guys that are the top of the top of the top of the physicist field. They can't explain it. What about the multiverse? Oh, well, I know. They'll come up with string theory and then the multiverse, and they don't know anything. They're really good at math, which is great. I respect math. There's logos in math. There's logos in music. There's form. There's truth. You can't make math your own will. You can't make music your own will. It is what it is. Kip Thorne. Yeah, I've talked to Kip Thorne. I've talked to the guy who designed the Mars rover, allegedly. Tons of them, dude. It's like physics has run out of answers. It's been that way for a while. I mean, chaos theory fucked them bad. It's just you're thinking about gravity and shit. It's fun. What do you think about science now saying the moon is within the atmosphere? Will Red Bull jump higher now and jump from the moon? Science is nonsense. It's nonsense. Dude, margarine. Margarine. They said margarine was better than butter. There's nothing there. It's like people just keep reacting, like one of the biggest reasons people do this shit, I saw one of my friends posted, science proves that it's actually Democrats who are more unstable than Republicans. And she was like, see, blah, blah. I'm like, the whole point of this is submission to science. Doesn't matter what they say. Why the fuck does science isn't a thing. It's not a person. It's nothing. The whole reason that headline mattered, the whole psyop that happened is people saying because science says that it's so. Science doesn't get to tell me anything. And that's real. Dude, when Tucker Carlson asked Bill Nye what the temperature of the earth would be without humans, the most basic control experiment, thought experiment possible. He had no idea what he was talking about. Not only didn't he have an answer, he never even thought about it. Science is not real. Engineering is. Engineering is real. Atmosphere, there's gradients, but I still think that it should go into space. Because nature abhors a vacuum. Even if it's not a hard sucking rate, it would just drift. And people are like, no, but gravity. It's like, fuck off.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.